The ceremony is about to begin.
Wake up!
Having made their mark, the Doors were quick to capitalize on their new popularity. The summer of 1967 was perhaps one of the defining seasons in modern history, the summer of love. With the hippie explosion spreading from San Francisco across the globe, it was an unparalleled period of music, drugs, sex, politics, and creative activity. The Doors had returned to the studio in August to record their new album, and the first single they released into this radical new environment was People Are Strange.
It's interesting that the Doors chose People Are Strange as their next single because, first of all, it didn't sound like Light My Fire. It wasn't an upbeat romantic song, which is really what Light My Fire is, a very sexy song, maybe more so than a lot of the other things in 1967. But People Are Strange, there's no romantic theme to that at all. And also, it's kind of like Jim Morrison especially is painting himself as very much an outsider figure. Not an outsider in so much as like Mick Jagger might, is like I'm rebelling against the system, but like I'm really disconnected or certainly unlike most other people. That is a different level than what a lot of the British invasion bands were doing, where like I'm rebelling against the system.
That allowed them to do things on this second album that other bands weren't able to do. People Are Strange as a single, that's not a single, and by those standards of that period. But it worked for them, and it worked for them because they had this image of this artistic depth and this kind of critical edge that danced on the edge of madness and did all this kind of stuff. And that song actually reflected what was happening in the hippie culture, although you didn't see it manifested for another year or so. But what happened to the peace and love movement is all of a sudden we started to get into the darker sides. You know, how did we go from peace and love to David Crosby hit out with a gun and cocaine? How do we get there? You know, an ultimate love child. Well, we got there because it got darker and darker, and the Doors tapped into that.
People Are Strange is a really good song. Really good song. It's a place where his sense of his sense of distance and his paranoia and his craziness is sublimated, right? Which is really expressed in a way which other people can identify with, etc.
The sessions from which People Are Strange was taken were both imaginative and progressive. Paul Rothchild and engineer Bruce Botnick were keen on introducing new elements into the band's sound, and the work performed at Sunset Sound Studios sought to push the boundaries in the same fashion as the Beatles' recent groundbreaking output. The resultant album, Strange Days, included tape manipulation, reversed tracks, and one of the earliest uses of the Moog synthesizer in popular music. On its release in October 1967, it divided both critics and fans, and this polarization of opinion continues to the present day.
Strange Days is my favorite album. I think it took the artistic level of what the Doors was about to a new level. I don't know that they equaled that level again. I mean, I think that stands out, that it is amazing. You know, capped with When the Music's Over, but all the songs on there are strong. There's strong lyrical message. There's haunting melodies. You know, it's really, I think it's that classic kind of case where the band is at their creative apex and they're just doing great, and the effects, the negative effects of rock and roll, you know, the drugs, the booze, the lifestyle, hasn't yet kicked in yet enough to tear them down. So I think it's an amazing album.
Even the graphics and the album covers kind of struck you. That was obviously one of the most striking album covers, Strange Days, that I think that has ever been seen in pop music. The fact that the Doors were barely on it, even though no one would say this, and certainly no one my age back then would talk about them in terms of marketing, they were being marketed in a sort of strangely subtle way, in a good way, actually, in a way that wasn't hitting you over the head. It was an air of mystery that was in their music, you know, seemed to kind of step into both their graphics, their art, their types of songs, the way they were being perceived by the public, the way that they were being made evident by the label even. It was kind of unique. It was good. It didn't seem pretentious at all.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange,